This is going to be the tutorial that's going to show you how to do the Jasmine stitch. And to do this stitch, you can use any size yarn and then use the appropriate hook for that size yarn. I'm using worst weight yarn and a 5mm hook, or a size H hook for the US 4-ply. And I'm just going to show you how to work up the stitch using this kind of yarn, but like I said, you can use any that you want. So, to get started, we're going to make our slip knot. And then you're going to start off making the stitch right away. You're not going to be doing a bunch of chains. It starts off doing one puff. So chain one, and then this chain one is where we're going to be working our stitch. So you want to pull up a little bit for the puff stitch. And then you'll yarn over, go into that chain, and pull up a loop. 3 loops on the hook. Then yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up a loop. Now you have 5 loops on your hook. Now this is the tricky part when it comes to this stitch. You're going to want to hold on to this because you're going to create a loop. Once you pull through your stitches, this here will become a loop. So you want to hold on to that. So I'm holding on to that, and I yarned over. And I'm pulling through all 5, and I like to use my finger and my thumb just to kind of pull down on the stitches to open up my holes just that little bit more. Now this part that you were just holding, you want to go in through there. Now you have 2 loops on your hook, and you'll slip stitch through both of those. Then chain 1 to end the stitch. And it's also the beginning of the next, because you're going to be working in that chain. Again, you want to pull up, yarn over, go into that chain space, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go into that same chain space and pull up a loop, 5 loops on your hook, hold on to this yarn beside you. Later on, it's going to be really critical that you learn how to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I do. I just stick my whole finger there. And then I just grab on the other side of my finger like this, and I just pull through all of my loops. And then you can get your finger out of it, but hold it, and when you pull up, you shrink that loop. And then you can pull to shrink your loop on your hook here. And then you can go right into that and do a slip stitch and slip stitch on the loop on your hook. Now you have 2 puffs, and we're going to continue down like this. You're going to be making the length. Like if you were making, if you wanted to make a scarf or something like this, you would make the width that you wanted the blanket. And then when you start to make this, you're going to be working it like this, upwards. So this right here is going to be the width. So you'll want to continue to make these puff stitches the same way until you get the width of it. So again, when you chain 1, you'll pull up, and you're going to be working in that chain. So yarn over, go into that chain, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go into that chain space again, pull up a loop, 5 loops on your hook. Stick your finger there, and then grab the yarn on the other side of and pull through. Now you can release your finger, and you can pull up by still holding it here, and then shrink your loop, go in and pull through both. Then chain 1, and then you'll begin your next. You want to continue to do your puff stitches like this until you get the width of whatever project that you're making done. So I'm going to do it for a few, and then I'll be back to show you how to continue. Okay, I went ahead and I got 8 done. So I'm going to go ahead and start going back and forth on my rows now. So I'll say that's a pretty good size, decent scarf. 8 across. So when you're ready, you want to go ahead, pull up, and go into the same stitch. Do it exactly like you just did before. 5 loops on the hook, but instead of grabbing this to pull to finish your puff, you want to go into this is your chain 1 space. I want to get a little closer here so I can show you exactly. If you take a look at your puffs, you went in, this was the loop you had on your hook, and this back here was the loop that you made by holding it with your finger. So I go in through the chain 1 and I go in through that same loop that we held by our finger. So those 2 loops that you slip stitched into to finish your puff, those are the ones that I'm going in order to make my next puff stitch. So I'm gonna, I think I needed to yarn over first. Yeah, yarn over, go into those 2 stitches, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into those 2 stitches, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into those 2 stitches, pull up a loop. You'll do it 3 times, which will give you a total of 6 loops on your hook for that particular one. Your original one will always have 5, but all the secondary puffs you make will have 6. So you have your 5, your set of 5s, your set of 6, and then you need to get another set of 6. And you're going to be going in again to your chain 1 and then that secondary loop that you created. And again, I'm going to yarn over first before I do that. So you have those 2 loops that I use. It gives you a strong grip. And pull up, and I have 2 loops there. Yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up a loop, and you want to pull up just a little, just to keep those stitches tight because you're going to have to go through them in a minute. Yarn over, and for the 3rd time, go into those 2 stitches, pull up a loop. Now you have 6 for this section, 6 for the middle section, and then 5. Let me gather my yarn here. Okay. Now before, you could get away with maybe just holding on to the loop, but with this one you're definitely going to have to use your finger to hold that space. Let me back up for it just a bit. Okay, so now again I'm going to put my finger here next to this puff, and then I'm going to go behind my finger here to grab up the yarn. And then I'm going to focus on going in through each section at a time. So I'm going to pull through the first 6, then I'm going to move my fingers over, grab the next, pull through the next 6, then I'm going to grab the last 5 and pull through those last 5. Now you can get your finger out of here, and again it's kind of a big space, pull up to shrink this hole here, and then you can just pull your yarn to shrink the loop on your hook. Then put your yarn through that space, and then you'll slip stitch through that one and that one. And again, those were the 2 stitches I was using a second ago to go in here when you do that slip stitch between the big and the loop on your hook. Now you'll chain 1, pull up, and we're going to start our next stitch. So yarn over, go into that chain, pull up a loop. Yarn over, go into the chain, pull up a loop. 5 loops on your hook. Then again, you're going to yarn over and you're going to go into the same space that you just used to make this puff stitch. It's the exact same space. So you'll yarn over and you'll go right into that same space that you made your last puff stitch in. And again, you do that 3 times. Yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, go into the stitch 3 times, so you have 6 loops on your hook. Then again, you'll yarn over, and now you're going to take it down to those 2 stitches that I showed you before. The one where your chain is, and then the other one here where you held it with your finger. And I'm going under both of those. And I'm going to pull up a loop. Oh, I lost my yarn over. So yarn over. There. Then you yarn over and you're going to go back in this one 2 more times. Yarn over till you have 6 loops on your hook for that section. So you have 6, 6, and 5. So again, put your finger here and go above your thumb. Take each section at a time and pull through the first 6, pull through the next 6, then grab and pull through the last 5. Get your finger out of there, and again you want to hold it, adjust the size, and then adjust, to pull it closer together and make your hook smaller. Then you'll go into that stitch and you'll slip stitch through that one and the loop on your hook, and that's your second. Then you'll start your third by chaining, pull up, and again you're working the yarn over and go into this chain, twice until you have 5 loops on your hook. And then again, the slash puff stitch that we did here, you're going to go right into that same stitch. So yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up a loop, and for a third time, yarn over, go to that stitch, pull up a loop. Now you have 6 stitches, loops there. Now again, we're going to go through our chain 1 and then our other held loop. So you're going to yarn over and go through both of those. 1, 2, slip stitch up. Now you got 2 loops. Yarn over, go into those 2 again. I say slip stitch, but basically you're pulling up a loop. That was twice. So for my third time, there we go. Now put my thumb here. I mean my finger. I always say my thumb. Put your finger there. Pull through this. Pull through the 6. Pull through the 6. And pull through the last 5. Then pull. And then you can go through each of those loops. And then you'll repeat that for the rest of the row. Remember, always chain 1 right after you get done, and then pull up, and that'll be the start of your second one. Then the next one will always be worked in this one here, the very next puff stitch where you worked last round. And then the other one, the third will be the new one that you'll incorporate in. But first you have the one on the top that you'll do. The second part is worked here in the stitch that you worked before, and then again you'll incorporate a new one by going into those 2 loops. So continue that down your row, and I will show you how to end and begin your next row. Okay, I'm at the end of my row, and I did my chain 1 and then pulled up my loop and did my first section of the stitch, and then I went back into that same stitch where I worked previously. And now this is where we usually incorporate the next puff stitch on the row, but we're at the end of the row. So I don't have a set place that I put it. I just choose one of those stitches here on the top. It's a single loop thing. It's not a double. And I'm just going to work my last puff stitch in there. And for some reason, by doing this, it always makes it hard to go through. So I should learn at the very end of the row to do it a little looser. I'm a slow learner. Okay, so I got it. Hold up my puff here. There. Now I'll chain 1. There's your first row. That's what it looks like. And then you'll turn, and I'm going to fight to get my yarn. Okay, so once you've turned, you're going to begin your rows always the same way. So you'll pull up, and this very first one is going to be like a half of one. It's only going to be 3 loops. It's basically you yarn over, you go into the chain 1 space, pull up a loop, and now you have 3 loops on your hook, and that's all you do. Now just treat it like you would the other one. Hold your loop here, pull through all 3 of those loops, and then pull through that loop you made, and then that. Okay. Sorry, I'm fighting with allergies this morning. Okay, so once you've got that, you'll chain 1, and then get ready to make your puff stitches normal. So you'll yarn over and go into the chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go into the chain space, pull up a loop. And then again, you're going to go into this first, like if you can think of it as a star, you'll go, or a flower. You have 1 petal here, 1 petal here, 1 petal here, this being the center of the flower. That's where you're going to be shooting for this row. Or those center loops, holes. So I'm going to go into that first one. Did I yarn over first? Nope, got to yarn over first. Go into the first hole, pull up a loop, and do that 2 more times, yarn over, until you get those 6 loops on your hook. And then you'll move over, and then this is your next set of 3. 1, 2, and 3, and this is the center of the hole. So yarn over, and you'll go into the next center of the hole. 1, 2, 3. Again, 6 loops on your hook again. 6 loops here, and 5. Again, putting my finger here, yarning over, taking the first 6, grabbing, taking the next 6, and grabbing down, taking the last 5. Get my finger out of there, hold it with my fingers like this, pull. Then I'm going to go through each of those loops. Then chain 1, and then again make your top puff again. We'll call it the top puff. Okay, you got your top puff there. And this is the one you just made your last stitch in, just like we did the previous row. You're going to start in the same stitch where you ended the last of your puffs. This one, and as you can see now it has 1, 2, 3, 4, so that by putting this next stitch in there, it's going to give you the 5 petals. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that same stitch, center loop, and I'm going to go in there and yarn over 3 times like we've been doing this whole time. And then again, then you start to incorporate the next one. Again, you can find your next 3, 1, 2, and 3. This is your center. And you'll go in there, whoops, I forgot to yarn over first. And you'll go in there and do your 3 to get your next 6. Okay, again, put my finger here, pulling through the first 6, next 6, then 5. Pull my thumb out of there, and then slip stitch to both of those. Again, chain 1, pull up. Then you're going to do your top puff the same way, only yarning over and going in there twice, giving you 5 loops on your hook. Then again, you're going to go into that very last one that you did, your very last stitch. 1, 2, 3, and then you'll incorporate your new one in 1, 2, and 3, the one that has the 3 petals in it. And again, I forgot to yarn over. There. And again, sorry, my yarn got all tangled. Had a knot in it. Okay, again, putting my finger here, pulling through 6, pulling through 6, pulling through 5. Then slip stitch both of those. And again, chain 1, and you'll be continuing that row the exact same way. And so continue down, and then when you get to the end of your row, I'll show you how to finish. Okay, I'm almost at the end of my row. I just did my 3 puffs here. Again, you'll chain 1, pull up, work your first top puff here, and then into the stitch that you just worked your last one in. 1, 2, 3. And then I try to look for a couple of double loops on the top here, and I just go into one of those, or 2 of those I should say, kind of like we were doing at the bottom here. I try to put in 2. That's what I'm doing here too. Yarn over, go into those same 2. I don't think it's terribly important which one you go in on the end, as long as it's one of the upper ones. You know, don't go down into one like this. Go into the most upper ones that you can find, you know, strength and stability, and then use that to finish by putting your last puff in there. And then again, you'll finish your puff the same way, going through the first 6. Whoops, that one I went through both 6s, and then my 5. Sometimes you get lucky. Okay, so then that makes the end of your second row. Then to begin, like I said, every time you'll begin your next row the same way. You'll chain 1 and turn, and then you'll pull up and do like your mini puff here. All you do is yarn over, go into that chain 1, and pull up a loop. That's it, and that'll give you your 3 loops on your hook. Then this one is easy enough just to hold and pull through those 3 loops, then go in through that loop and slip stitch, then chain 1, and that's your puff. Now you'll be working as normal. This is your normal top puff, so you'll go normally into that chain to get your 5 loops, And then you'll go right into your very first center of your flower, the very first space of the row. And go in there and pull up a loop 3 times until you have 6 loops on your hook. And then again, yarn over and go into your next set of your circles. See, 1, 2, and 3. There's 3 here. But pretty much now, you're always going to have a puff on the top and a little space in front of it. Puff on the top, space in front of it. Puff at the top, space in front of it. And that's the place you're always going to be putting you're incorporating your new puff, which is always your 3rd puff. You're incorporating the bit of the row. So again, I'm going to yarn over and go into that new stitch to make my final set of 6. Then pull to my first, pull to my second, and then pull to my last 5. Get your finger out of there, pull, tug, slip stitch. And then again, chain 1, pull up. You're doing your top puff here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I did 3. I'm only supposed to do it twice in the first one till you get 5. And then again, you'll be working in the same place you did before. You worked the last. You incorporated your new one in there. That's where you'll begin your second part of your stitch. And then, of course, your 3rd section of the puff is here. You're going to incorporate the new one. 1, 2, and 3. And then the last one, there we go. Okay, that's it. That's how you're going to be working your ends. That's how you'll work your beginnings, and that's how you'll work your Jasmine stitch. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please don't forget to click like and share this video. And if you've never watched this channel before, or you're new to the channel, or just never got around to it, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.